So today in this beginner series to Final Cut Pro version 2.3, I'm going to start to show you how you can begin to assemble your clips onto your project timeline using a variety of our basic tools. So scrolling over to Final Cut. So the first thing you need to make sure that you are doing is that you're accessing the correct project, because when you're working within libraries you can take files sort of to and from different folders, different events, and work with those within your project. You're not restricted to the ones that are within particular folders. So right now you can see I have the festival folder highlighted. This is the one I want to work on today, and Body and Soul is the project I want to edit. But down here I have Aerial Solo is appearing on my timeline, which means this is the one that is currently open. It must have been open on a previous session. So I need to make sure that you double click on the project that you want to begin working on, and you can see here now that Body and Soul has appeared. So we're ready to begin working. So as you're working here on the timeline, there's a number of different ways. So the first way to quite simply bring our clips to and from our timeline is to select a clip. It will highlight the entire box in yellow, and you're going to click and drag that clip and drop it onto this slightly darker black strip that lies in the middle here onto our timeline. You can do this with as many clips as you need to, and this will begin to assemble our rough cut. So that's one of the first simplest ways of doing this. The keyboard shortcut Command Z is undo. So Command Z will undo any action, just something I'll emphasize a couple of times. Command Shift Z will redo any action, so that's just another keyboard shortcut which is handy to know when you're making any adjustments to your clips at all. So if there's anything that happens, just throwing that one in there. So you might not want the entire clip, first of all, to be placed on the timeline. You might just want a small portion of the clip. Now, we discussed yesterday the option of the favorites, which are small, tiny selections. So you could have pre-selected favorites, which would be here. So then you have your smaller sections, which are already prepared to be popped on the timeline in their small version. So that's one way of doing it. And there are, of course, several. But this one here we're going to do. So the first thing you do is you highlight the clip here, and you can use, you can hover the mouse over the ends of the clips. And as you do that, you can see that the mouse shape changes from an arrow to two sideways arrows, or to a hand on occasion when you're dragging. So if you hover to the end of the clip, you get these two sideways arrows, and you can click and drag this to just pull into a particular point of the clip to make a slightly narrower selection. Again, you can make a favourite of that if you want, or you can just drag that and place that on the timeline. Let's move down a little bit so you've got this DJ. So maybe wait till he gets in focus because it's a little blurry to begin with. Maybe he does this little dancing movement over there, but before he turns. So just that portion here. Drag that in, just as this guy's turning around. So you begin to start making these kind of selections. Maybe you want to see him in this crowd. Place that here and here. So this is you starting to kind of make slightly smaller selections, so you can bring those onto the timeline. Another way of doing this is to use the letters I and O, same as we did with making our favorite selections, but you use them this time just to generate a small portion. So you might have this portion of the clip here, and I want this part at the beginning where he moves into the camera. It's a nice close-up. So from here I'm going to hit the letter I, and you can see that the yellow bar pulls to that point. So maybe I just want to have literally a few seconds of him moving there before his eyes start to drop. Let's bring that back, and I'm going to hit the letter O. Now that's a very tiny selection here. So I'm going to use the keyboard shortcuts Command Plus to zoom in. When you zoom in, you can start to see that clip in more detail. So maybe I want it to be slightly earlier in the clip. Maybe about there is fine. Command minus will zoom you out, and I've now got this small portion, so that makes you start to see how long each of these clips are. The I and the O function can be used while you're playing as well. So you could actually play the clip and then use the I, maybe just as he comes into focus here, or starts throwing here, maybe I and O. So you can actually use the I and O as you're playing to be kind of quite precise as to where you want that to occur. So we're starting to put together a little what's known as a rough cut. So I'm going to play from here. These are quite long clips, So I'm just going to play from this portion here just to see what happens. So obviously it doesn't make any kind of sense yet at all. This is random throwing down clips. The sound jumps quite abruptly from one clip to another, but you can start to get the idea. So that's how we're beginning to kind of compile our clips. Now there are a couple of additional options as to how you get your clips down onto the timeline, and these are determined by these little features here. So if you have your clip selections here, so I'll just go back to this one which I already have, and I'm going to show you how these ones work. So if I was to take my playhead, so that's this kind of grey line that I have here, and bring it above another clip, then I'm going to select a portion that I've created here, and I'm going to select this first option, which is also the keyboard shortcut Q, as you can see here. If I click this option, what it does is it brings that, it creates what's called a cutaway, and it brings that onto the timeline. So if I play this, you'll hear both clips that are playing at the same time, but it's only visually going to display what is on top. So that's kind of what's known as a cutaway. You use that quite a lot with things like interviews, maybe someone's speaking about doing a particular event, and then you get a cutaway of that event happening as they're speaking, but the sound continues. It's the kind of thing you might use cutaways for. So if I did that a few times, let's make a different clip selection. Let's choose this one, I and O. So I've made that selection. I'm going to go with my playhead, and then I'm going to hit the letter Q on my keyboard this time. And that's created the same idea. So play here. And then it goes back, but you have the sound playing from each file. So that's how you do that. You can also use the next function here. You can kind of see the symbols sort of indicate a little bit what they do. The next symbol here, which you can kind of see, which is the keyboard shortcut W, what that will do is that will insert the clip at the point where the playhead happens to reside, and it will cut a clip in half. So if I move this over, so I'm going to place the playhead right in the middle of this clip so you can see, and I'm also going to use Command plus to zoom in so you can really see. One more time. So I'll place the playhead in the middle of this clip, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to make a small selection. So just do these girls on a swing, so it's a swing, and then it's another swing. So I've got this selection here, and I'm going to use this option here. What that does is it cuts this clip in half and inserts it in between. So it slices the clip and places that clip right in the middle of it, so it now appears like this. You get two of those. Undo, Command Z will undo all of that. Another way that can be useful sometimes is if you go actually to a point where two clips happen to meet. Now this one here has got our snapping is active, which is where it kind of turns yellow and sort of pings into place. I would advise if you're using this one with the keyboard shortcut W to do that you do have the snapping activated, because if you're even a frame out, it'll cut that frame and you might end up with a single sliver of a video that's difficult to remove. So you can use this one and use the option W, or just insert there, and that will insert it into that point. So it doesn't need to place a cut here because there's already a cut, which can be quite a handy one. So you can use W and it'll insert as many times sort of as you need to there. It'll just keep doing it. It's kind of like pasting. So I'm going to take all of those and hit the backspace. It's going to delete and close. So the next option we have here is this one. So if I take this DJ guy again, let's just take that clip and hit this third optional one, which is also the keyboard shortcut E. That's for the end. So if I click on this one, what it does is it places the clip at the end. So you can keep building in that way. So if you wanted to, you could literally just use E all the time if you want to put together your first rough cuts. Let's have these guys dancing for a little bit. I and O. Click the letter E. Let's go down to this guy who's singing. I and O. Click the letter E. You can also again use let's get rid of the wooden rectangle, just the end part here. Or you can click actually on the symbol itself and it'll do the same thing. So that'll just keep adding one, another, right at the end of your video. So it's another kind of simple, handy one to do. This fourth option here is a little bit trickier. It's kind of like cut and overwrite. So if I was to take this one here and place it here, so what it's going to do is it's going to cut the clip, and then it's going to overwrite the second portion of the clip with the portion I have selected. So if I take this let's not have the bin here. So I and O, so our lovely Booker brass band. and click this portion here. So just observe how that then interacts. So because it's a longer clip than the last one, it's taking up more space. So if I undo that, maybe I'll make my selection slightly smaller. It doesn't have to. Let's just half that a little bit, and then do click and override. That's almost about the same kind of size. So what it's doing is it's taking that second portion of the clip and it's overwriting that portion at the end. So rather than cutting it and taking that second portion and having it remain, it gets rid of it and overwrites it with the clip that you're about to place in. So if you decide, okay, I want to finish this clip, I want it to end about here, and I want to cut that bit off and add a new one in, so I might do, I don't know. But what it will also do, actually, this is another thing to note, it will also override the portion of the clip that remains here. So have a look at the length of these two clips. So you've got this clip and then you've got this clip here. So if I have this happening here and I have maybe quite a long selection, if I maybe I'll just select the entire clip so you can see and then click override, it's going to override that whole, everything that follows with that selection. So because that is a long clip, it's going to override from here onwards until that clip finishes. If I make a smaller selection, it might not override as much, but it's still going to override maybe a clip or two. Yeah, so a clip and a bit. Undo. If I had a few small clips kind of running in together, maybe these ones, and I click override. Yeah, so you got those options here, and it leaves this tiny, you can probably see here, the tiny sliver of clip here. These are things that you want to make sure that you make note of. So yeah, I'm going to actually show you just one more addition. So those are kind of the various ways of getting clips on. But I'm going to show you how to also copy and paste. So if you take any clip here that you have already on your timeline, there's a number of reasons why you might want to copy and paste. So it might be an action that you want to repeat for, I don't know, sort of comic value. Let's see what these guys are doing. So let's just take that. I'm going to put this on repeat just for the sake of it, just for pure amusement. So I'm going to select this clip. I'm going to place the playhead where I want it to paste, because if I put it in the middle, it's going to paste it. It's going to do the same as this function here. It's going to cut it and it's going to paste it. So I've selected this clip and I've used the keyboard function Command C. Command C is copy. I'm going to decide where I want this to be pasted. So if I put this here and do Command V, which is paste, Command V, it's going to cut and paste in the middle of that clip. So I'm going to keep my snapping on, which snapping is the letter S, keyboard shortcut S. And I'm going to Command V here, so it's going to paste it in the middle of a cut which already exists. If I Command V a few times, Command V, Command V, Command V, that's just going to paste as many times as you need to. It's going to look really weird on repeat. It's going to repeat the sound and it's going to repeat the visuals. So that's how you paste. You might also decide, undo, Command Z is undo. So from here, you might also decide to paste. Now, there's a number of reasons why you can do this. You might paste another version of this clip. You can use this for things like masking above the clip itself. If I, instead of Command V, I use Option V, that's going to paste another version on top. So if I did Option V above, it's sort of the equivalent of like pasting in the same manner as this. So it's kind of like your paste version of Q. So Command V is going to paste it. Oh, sorry. Wrong one. Option V. Option V is what's going to give you a paste that will paste it onto the clip above the timeline. So I just wanted to kind of throw that bit in there because it's kind of a useful one which you can use as well for a number of different functions. Okay, so that's our basics that are starting going into the cut. In the next video, we're going to go into this drop-down menu here. We can start to make adjustments to the clip once they've been placed on the timeline. Okay, thank you very much.